What's up, everybody? Just as the sun has risen, because it rises every single day, no matter what the situation is, the sun will rise. And just as the sun has risen, so should your mind and your heart. Above all things, have courage. Courage is definitely needed in times such as this. So, we are on day number 3 of our journey together. This journey is considered the journey with transformation. Transformation, metamorphosis, to be changed. So, in this journey, we will be exploring a topic that happens to everyone. Something that will never change. As long as you're breathing and as long as you're living, you will experience this particular topic. Everybody experiences it, every culture, every gender, every race, every organization, every person, every human experiences problems. We all got them. We all have them. We have them, right? So this journey is exciting because, again, it's all about transformation. It's all about changing the way we see things and being transformed into something new. And the driving theme that we're going to be utilizing in this conversation is your problems are roads that lead to solutions and progress. Your problems are roads that are going to lead to solutions and progress. I'm excited about this journey. I am so excited. And I already feel revolutionized, right? And my goal is very simple. It's to stay committed, but more importantly, is to open up the channel of communication so that you can communicate with people that you love. You can also communicate with yourself, right? That inner person is an important person to stay connected to. So let's dive right in, right? Yesterday, we really talked and introduced the concept of hate. And that's what we're going to be discussing for the next few days is hate, right? And in that concept, right, we describe what hate is, which is an intense feeling of passion or intense feeling of dislike, right? And one of the things that I wanted to make mention to is when we talk about this term hate, sometimes people don't even realize this fact, right? Psychologists have studied the mind, and the same space in which love exists, so does hate in the mind. And what I mean by that is it lights up, right? There's movement in the brain when it comes to love and hate, yin and yang, right and left. You know what I'm saying? Good and bad. It's this tug and war, but it's all in the same space. And that's the beauty of this conversation. We're really going to unravel that, right? Because remember, problems or hate are roads that are going to lead to your solution and progress. That's what it's all about. The way you think, the way you believe, and how you're going to dive right into this and see something brand new. So, some of the results of hate, right? If you're exposed to hate, whether it be self-hatred or hate from someone else, typically what happens, it puts our body into survival mode. So anytime that you are judging yourself because you're not meeting a certain standard, or you're overly critical on yourself because you didn't meet an expectation or something that you had from an inner expectation, that can turn into hate, to self-hate, self-sabotage. I'm not good enough. Why am I keep messing up? What's interesting about that conscious voice is that conscious voice has been developed over time, even from a childhood, right? Think about children growing up in certain cultures, right? I know that for my culture, African American culture, we always have this joke, I guess, if you will, right? And it's a cadence that goes for so long that if you mess up, your mother would be on your. I'm not gonna say the word because I'm appropriate, but you know what I'm saying, right? No matter what, there was this sense of if you're messing up, she will be right there to correct it. If you're messing up, your father would be right there to correct it. If you're messing up, your grandfather would be right there to correct it. There's always somebody giving you criticism or critiques, creating a standard, letting you know what you fail to meet. And because we're so conditioned to hear that from a childhood, and then we get moved into an elevation of whether it be college or young adulthood, then we have other people telling us you're not meeting a standard, you're not here on time, you're not achieving this success. You're not doing that. You're not doing that. And now we have social media that is really infusing us and really enabling us to feel that we're not good enough. There's this constant need of improvement. We even have self-improvement coaches, life coaches, all these different people there to really remind us we need to understand that there's a problem, right? Hate, self-hatred. Slow down. We're going to discuss this. We're going to open up this road. Walk with me. Hatred of others, that is a real thing, right? We talked about that yesterday, that there's this space in which why we hate, and one is the fear of others. If something is not like us, something we're not familiar with, something we're not used to, something that doesn't look like us, sound like us, from our same culture, from our same families, from our same origin, from our same race, from our same organization, from our same team, from our same gang, if something is different from us and we perceive it to be a threat, instantly we turn. And instinctively, what happens is we go into this self-protective mode. Because remember, the body goes into survival mode, so it has to protect itself. And we instantly project, they're not good. I don't want to be like them. Something is wrong with them. And so instead of really professing it, we act out. Sometimes that turns into violence. Sometimes that turns into hate against another group. Sometimes that turns into not realizing there's something happening on the inside of you that has yet to be unraveled and revealed. And because you're not dealing with it, and because you're not being true to whatever this badness or this uncomfortable or this subtleness in you that you perceive someone else to be a threat, and you need to take care of them because you're protecting yourself, that's a problem. And we promise, and I promise your problems can be roads to solutions and progress. That's the goal, right? We see hate all around. We turn on social media and there's hate. There's an infusion of hate. There's an infusion of hatred for other people. There's an infusion for fear is just dominant in the societies. And that's what keeps us hyperactive, is because it keeps getting poured into our consciousness. And then we start to believe it to be true, right? Last but not least, and that is the basis of the conversation we're going to talk about today. Remember, we're going to really dive into this hate thing, but we're really going to be leaning into the conversation of this last space of why hate exists is the lack of self-compassion. It took a while to get here. 7 minutes in it took a while to get here, but we're here. About to get ready to rival this. We're going to go quickly with this. My goal is to be done in the next 3 minutes. Fingers crossed. We'll see. All right. So lack of self-compassion. Hate exists because of lack of self-compassion. Hatred exists because of lack of self-compassion. So what that tells me is that self-compassion is the pill, the medicine, or the antidote to hate. It's what soothes it. It's what diminishes it. It's what separates it. So what is this self-compassion? It's not self-pity. Do you have self-compassion for yourself? Do you have self-compassion for others? It's interesting, right? You see, this term self-compassion really comes from the idea that it's the extension of kindness, care, and warmth, and understanding. So all those kindness, care, warmth, and understanding, instead of beratement and criticism. So it's the opposite, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Towards oneself or others when faced with shortcomings and adequacies of failure. So if self-compassion is not a beratement and criticism, that will self-impose that you might want to stop criticizing yourself. You might want to stop judging yourself so critical. You might want to at least pause and ask yourself, do you balance out self-compassion with the self-criticism that you give yourself? Because again, this is things that become conditioned in us from a childhood, and as well as we grow up in young adults in the society we live in. It's always a standard. There's always somebody there saying you're not good enough. So why do you tell yourself that? Take the time to show yourself self-compassion, which the word compassion means to suffer with. First, let's get that clear. That word compassion means to suffer with. It derives from that term, to suffer with. So that doesn't mean you're just sitting there and getting beat up. No, that means you're going to stay present. What you feel in those moments is natural. They're feelings. You're human. We all have feelings. We all have moments where we feel less than, where we feel sad, where we feel angry, we feel upset, we feel disappointment. That's the first thing. It's okay to feel. Be mindful, be aware, be present with yourself. We talked about vulnerability in that last 30-day journey, right? It's important for you to do so. Be present with yourself. Be mindful. That's a form of self-compassion, is to be present and don't Don't pretend nothing is wrong. Don't do that. I know that's a form of male toxicity, especially from a male perspective. We tend to be tough. We got this. Ain't nothing wrong. I got this. Like, I'm not worried about it. It's me against the world. I ain't worried about it. Yo, this, and that. No, slow down, man. Slow down. Show yourself some self-love and self-compassion. It's important. It heals you. It restores you. All that ache that you may have that you're unaware of, it will restore it, right? And also, too, keep this in mind. So when you show self-compassion, again, it's the form of suffering or to be present in suffering with yourself. But also, too, self-compassion, it means to honor and accept our humanness and to accept that in life we will encounter a number of unfortunate circumstances. You have to learn to accept that. We're not perfect. Even though we have goals, even though we're trying to hit results constantly, we're not perfect. We're not a machine. It's just not going to happen. But there's some beauty in making mistakes too. And we'll talk about that, right? So one, you have to honor, which means to show respect and accept your own humanness. So if you're not loving yourself and you are criticizing yourself and you are showing yourself self-hatred, you're beating yourself up for whatever reason it may be, pause and reflect on this thought. Are you honoring and accepting your own humanness? Right? Also, too, in addition to that, there's benefits of self-compassion. People with self-compassion typically procrastinate less. They do. Think about it. The times that you're really beating yourself up, you're probably just stuck in a thought. You're probably in a funk for a while, a minute or two, and you're constantly thinking, man, I'm not good enough. I shouldn't have made that decision. I shouldn't have done that. And now that one thought can turn into many thoughts, and those many thoughts, because keep this in mind, your mind can create an imagination that can sometimes be much realer than reality. So if you're journeying down that road of all these thoughts that aren't actually happening and you're creating these scenarios, you're going to lose sight of what's actually happening, that you're human. Right? So pause and realize that when you are overthinking, that can create procrastination. And ultimately, that will then in turn also frustrate you because you're not acting in accordance to what you're expecting yourself to act. So instead of taking time to beat yourself up, people who demonstrate self-compassion, again, spend less time dragging their feet and holding themselves back. That's a benefit of self-compassion. Another benefit of self-compassion is it allows you to re-engage after failure. Again, if you're not beating yourself up and you realize, all right, I'm human, I'm going to make these mistakes. Typically what happens after you realize that, you become awakened or revolutionize that there's an opportunity for growth, and you can re-engage right after failure. It allows you to jump right back in, and you're looking now for opportunities. And that's the space I wanted to briefly talk about. The beauty of learning is this: when you make a mistake, your mind computes, okay, I need to correct. What do I need to do? Okay, these are the options. Boom, let's do it. Your mind is working in that manner, right? So it's okay to make a mistake. It's simply okay to make a mistake because that's how we learn, through our mistakes. We may not be immediately, right? Some people don't accept that because like, no, I'm not learning right now. I made a mistake. Again, you're self-criticizing yourself, sabotaging yourself. Slow down, breathe. You're human. You made a mistake. Accept that. I made a mistake. I'm human. All right. That self-compassion you give yourself energizes you to re-engage and jump right back in, right? The other benefit is it takes, it has a sense of it gives you a sense of taking more accountability, because once you re-engage back in, typically what happens is you know that you have responsibility now, right? Because you're more aware that you have the capacity to be human, and you're going to make mistakes, but now you start to appreciate what you're responsible for, and then you take that as a responsibility. This is something I'm going to own. I'm going to own this in the fullness of who I am, right? That's a benefit of self-compassion. It enables you to take responsibility because you understand you're not perfect and you understand you're not human. And when we talk about self-compassion right now, we're going to explore tomorrow compassion for other people, because that's just too much content. I'm already past the 10 minutes. Jeez, mess up the time. 4 minutes past, but that's all right. This is good information. The last benefit is it enables you to be open to feedback, right? Self-compassion enables you to be open to feedback. This is because those who practice self-compassion know they have an inherent value and ability to recover. So if you're aware, if you're practicing self-compassion in those moments where you're really beating yourself up for whatever reason it may be, whatever problem you're having, right? It's a problem, whatever the problem is. It's not the problem. Remember, your problems are roads, so level it out. okay, this is a road. I'm human. This is part of the process. I'm going to experience this problem. I'm going to experience a mistake. I'm going to experience this hate that I have for myself because I'm human. So I know what it feels like. I'm going to take a deep breath. Some people breathe and go into this meditative state. I got it. And your mind starts to compute, all right, this is what we need to do. And then that's where action takes place. It allows you to re-engage. And from that re-engagement, you already have the capacity to act because you have the experience, the knowledge, and now the will, the drive. And then you're going to take accountability. And now what ends up happening is you're going to look for feedback. How did it impact other people? How did it impact you? And this feedback that we naturally search for when it relates to us demonstrating self-compassion isn't for pity. That's not what naturally happens. It's more you have the ability to listen because you don't have that judgment in your ear, the judgment of what other people say because how you feel about yourself. Self-compassion lessens that voice. It lowers that voice, and it's so important for that to happen. And we're gonna pause there, and we're gonna connect again tomorrow on the remaining parts of this conversation. Again, I'm trying to keep this, to a limit. I'm really trying to work on that. But the good that's coming out of this is me and you are talking. We're having a conversation, right? And I'm hoping that you're taking this content and listening, because I'm listening. Not only do I listen to what's being delivered, but I also try to apply it as well. And I try to recall on those memories and those examples I have, because I truly believe that once we pause and have a better understanding of ourselves, and we don't look at ourselves as problems, we don't look at our situations as problems, but we see them as roads to progress and solutions, then we can truly be transformed. So, again, just as the sun has risen, because the sun rises every single day. No matter our problems or our situation, the sun will always rise. And so should your mind and your heart. Above all things, have courage, because courage is definitely needed in times such as this. You guys create clarity in your life and be blessed. Talk to you soon.